This course does not have a heck of a lot of reading, even though we have a huge list of articles and books on reserving. It's just so you can get acquainted with the literature, and it often helps just to pass these books through your hand. Look at the table of contents. We used to have a course at the University of Wisconsin, which we did this work. It gives you some minimal acquaintance with material. Also lets you know places where you can turn. Over in the bookstore, is it just this book that's there?
No, it's not.
It's in falls.
Excuse me?
These two.
Oh, yes. Because I also wanted you to have meditation on emptiness. And for people who are taking the course, I have 4 copies of it. And then I have 2 Xerox manuscripts that I did 10 copies of. And we should start with people who are taking the course, and then somebody else who's either sitting in or whatever. You can borrow that person's copy, somebody else's copy, and run off a copy for yourself. Now, what I started to say is that there's not a huge amount of reading for the course, the way I do it. It's mainly thought, contemplation, reflection, trying to figure out a system. And the system is one particular system within Tibet. It's not all the many systems that there are, because that eventually gets boring and you end up with nothing in your hand. At least in any way that I could attempt to teach it. As you'll see from the paper topic, I'm asking you to compare this system with some, and I was laughing myself this morning, I don't want to use the word Western, so I went to European, American, and Japanese, but one of the persons is an Indian. And I don't want to use the word like modern to suggest that living Tibetans are not modern. Modern has certain other meanings, right? Which in the postmodern period, and I haven't figured out which. I guess I should have said European, American, Japanese, and Indian. And I can think of an Italian who's on the list right away. No, that's easy. That's a European. Sorry. The focus of the course is on this system, so that you can see how a system can feel and use a system in a sort of living and breathing way. The comparisons, it's not as if I'm asking you to compare this system with some non-Tibetan system in a major way. I ask you to present some focal aspect of this Tibetan system with minor comparisons. Oh, and Murti says this is just the opposite. I'm not looking for right and wrong. I'm not looking to inculcate a certain system. So, from the beginning, I think it's far preferable to read the translated Tibetan material than to try to get Murti's system, say, from the very start, or Huntington's system. Because it will take you off in areas that are so contrary to the one that we're trying to get across that you'll just have to be removing all of those contrary ideas. It might work. It might work. I wouldn't be dogmatic about it. And then as the semester progresses, add in reading these other texts and so forth, and seeing how different they are. One good book that presents the difference is Elizabeth Knapper's Dependent Arising and Emptiness. She has a marvelous section laying out the difference between this Tibetan system and many of the Euro-American, Japanese etc. Interpretation. There are many things one could say at the beginning of a course. Sometimes I say, I am a Buddhist. I'm not seeking to turn anybody into a Buddhist by any means. But if you ask me, am I advocating something? I am not, my life is not so dead that I would say I'm not advocating something. I'm advocating interest in some of these topics, and I hope that they can become open to you and that you'll become turned on to them. But as far as becoming a Buddhist or some particular kind of Buddhist, I think that's absolutely absurd. If I was interested in that, I would not bother to be in university. Work up some sort of card and use whatever powers of speech I have to see if people can get them to sign their name, which is sort of like a credit card for me. I was thinking yesterday, driving out to my home, I live out by the Blue Ridge, that in terms of distance from the material, a lot of people talk about distance from the material, I guess I would advocate no distance at all. I think that if you have some intelligence, it will keep you from being gulled by, whatever is within the system to gull with. And I don't have some sort of privileged perspective from which I'm looking at this material. That's a claim to humility. Most claims to humility are only put forth by very arrogant people. And indeed, it's true that most of us who work in such fields are quite arrogant. As at least sort of my generation, the world was closed off enough so that you're breaking out of something and looking at an area that people sort of didn't want you even to look at. I just don't feel that about the world. I'm an international citizen, feeling at home in many different cultures, and also not in all of them. Including here. So what would you like to ask me about the course?
I'm going to ask you about the one system that we're going to be looking at very closely. Which is the books. Are we going to look at this one system from the perspectives of different individuals,
yes,
or are the books that we are going to be getting sort of one person's take on this one system?
You're basically getting my take on it. My take on many different Tibetan messages. And you can read around and get some other takes and so forth. I have a wish to, what I want to do, my method is to get, I say detail liberates, to get into so much detail that you can begin seeing how this system falls apart and how other systems are possible, even perhaps more important. And that takes time. And it's not accomplished by have to make sure not to be frenetic looking at this and think that. But taking some time pursuing material. The videoing is part of a possible program we're going to work up with Cornell in order to exchange resources. As you can see from the way I'm holding my hands, I try very hard not to pay attention to it. And not to let the video rule how the course is taught. That would be ridiculous. And I'm often quite personal in that I don't consider this material to be something that's like about out there. but it's about things, about our own perceptions and so forth. So, the assignment for the next two times is, we'll refer to this handout, which is from Anne Klein's new book on the oral, I don't know what you call it, oral, you know? Afternoon. We did a translation together that's in the end, and the translation and the notes are this small, double-sided packet. And make sure for this assignment that's coming up in this text to read the notes. One of the main things is Nagarjuna's history over many lifetimes. It's a fabulous mythic story. And that's one of the main reasons for the assignment. So it's this, pages 149 to 162. That's 14 pages, right? With the notes. And meditation on emptiness, pages 564 to 594. For the next class, actually, believe it or not, the 14 pages will be, I doubt we'll even cover the 14 pages next time from the information. But go on and read. No. And my job, you don't have emptiness here. You can go on and read in illumination. I'm not giving it to you just to, because it was giving me. It's all important material. And it's material that you will need to read over and over again. But the specific assignment for the class is often very small. Now, the interpretation that I'm seeking to elaborate on in detail to the point where you can feel the insides of the system and work with the system is that of an Eastern Tibetan of the late 14th, early 15th century. His name is sometimes spelled T.S. I mean, I've done it all sorts of ways. Both systems are off because well, let's not get into it. Now, he was commenting on the thought, well, let's go this way, of Tsong-kha-pa. Indian scholar, yogi of, when? About 500 AD? What do you say?
4th to 6th.
Some Tibetans claim he was an actual student of Nagarjuna, which to many people seems highly unlikely. It's based on interpretation of one sentence in his writing. And Tsong-kha-pa is interpreting Nagarjuna. And Nagarjuna is interpreting the scriptures of Shakyamuni Buddha. Nagarjuna, one of his teachers was Saraha, but it doesn't have the sort of relationship. I wouldn't draw an arrow to Saraha. And within Buddha, it's the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras. For the type of study that we are doing here, Nagarjuna also did a great deal on other sutras, and even, after he went to the land of dragons, brought back some other sutras, which happened also to prophesy him. you know, I don't know, what would you think if I went out my backyard and dug up a sutra that prophesied me? But anyway, aside from that cynical note, that's part of what I'm assigning to next time. Is this great mythic story, and what does it mean? And I'm not satisfied with merely making a cynical comment and then going on, make a cynical comment, get that out of the way, and then let's find out, you know, let's enjoy it, see what's going on. Now, Tsong-kha-pa was commented on by many people, and in my meditation on emptiness, the person is Jamyang Sherry. Jamyang means Manjushri, or Manjugojo, and Manjushri is the physical manifestation of the wisdom of all Buddhas. And She means to smile, and Ba is like one who is smiled on by Manjushri. Interesting fact that I read in Meditation on Emptiness this morning. I'm so far from it now that I said, oh wow, that's interesting. Did I know that? I'm getting to that age. The Emptiness Yoga book is based on a text by Tsong-kha-pa. So Buddha died in 43 BC, according to some systems, having lived for 81 years. Nagarjuna was born, some people write it out, it's a nice way of writing it out, 400 AN, after the Nirvana, that means after the death of Shakyamuni Buddha. Nirvana in this case just means death, which means passing away from ordinary sight. And he lived for 600 years. So he not only was prophesied, but lived for 600 years. And one of the things you'll be reading about are his 3 appearances in South India. Over 600 years. Well, no matter how difficult the travel was, you would think you could get to South India 3 times. But you see, that's one of the things that confused people, thinking that there might be more than one Nagarjuna, because of 3 important trips he made to South India. So it's 400 AN to 1,000. It's not known how long he lived. Or people make, the speculations are very difficult to make. Trying to figure out how long he lived. 150, 300 years? Tsong-kha-pa, you see, it's too close. People knew when he died. There hasn't been time to, I guess, inflate it. Jain Shiva is late 17th, early 18th. The material of Meditation on Emptiness that's translated, was published for the first time in 1699. Jangya, 18th century, mid-18th century. Jangya became a close friend of the person who became the Qinlong Emperor in China. His monastery, when he was a boy, was burned down in eastern Tibet by Chinese, and he ended up in Beijing. Beijing? Yes, it is Beijing. Absolutely. and was going to school with somebody in the royal family who eventually became emperor. So he ended up having tremendous influence, tremendous influence. And he was a Mongolian, born in eastern Tibet, so he knew Mongolian, knew Tibetan, and of course was then of great use also to the Chinese court. Because the Mongolians had so much influence in Tibet, given that they ruled the Chinese Empire before. So the Chinese emperor was really a Manchurian. So as various, what do you say, losing my train, the Mongols ruling the empire, the Manchus ruling the empire, various people ruling the empire at various times. Various groups. This, we're asking the group. This is the group, okay? And the works that we're reading by these people largely are translated either by myself or by people in the Virginia program. So it's a sort of slang. And Huntington, however, even though he worked with a Iluka scholar, who founded the Iluka school, Iluka Sept. He's bringing a very attack on some very similar material, even to the point where one wonders, he does not seem to be aware that the scholar he was working with held very different opinions than those that he himself was presenting. It's a bit shocking, but it's also very interesting how his own perspective ruled how he saw the material, as it must be the case with myself. Am I leaving out somebody who... So, my own, we're getting up to the mid-18th century, but I have studied with a lot of contemporary Tibetan scholars, 15 or so, and so it takes it right through to the present day. A number of my teachers have died, so actually, it's a bit past now, but a number are still alive. Quite a number of them have died. Very interesting to outlast. I think I may have to grow up sometime. I don't think I will. So there's a lot of late 20th century influence here too. So you see, if we look at this thing that's called Part 3, Tsong-kha-pa's Illumination of the Thought, extensive explanation of Chandrakirti's entrance, or as I call it, supplement. There's I guess controversy. There are different opinions on what the word avatara means here. But anyway, it's maybe different for all purposes. To Nagarjuna's Treatise in the Middle Way. Okay? And Anne was working with a contemporary scholar by the name of Yeshe Kukin. Who died, whose cancer of the place where the stomach and the intestine joins was identified, the cancer that killed him was identified over here in our hospital. I did not work with him on this text. Now, yes, this. This. You want the commentary, which Bill himself translating in connection with his thesis, by a outer Mongol, it's now just Mongolia, by Noam Belton. And what are Noam Belton's dates? I forget.
17. He was born in 1797. 1797. For the current year.
He's also Mongolian, and he wrote a particularly lucid commentary on the material that is in Meditation on Emptiness. Okay? And what Bill has done is to, is it the whole of the material in Meditation on Emptiness that's in the translation is right here. So for those of you who are not getting Meditation on Emptiness because it's no longer available, this is a great substitute. When was Noam Belton born?
1797.
1797. So about just 2 years short of when John Shiver's text was published. Okay. Nagarjuna wrote a text called The Treatise on the Middle that has 27 chapters. And I think it would be a great idea if at one point during the semester we just stopped and looked at one of those chapters in tremendous detail. It's an analysis of motion. And when I was a little kid on a tricycle, I did this kind of analysis. So as soon as I had a semester of Sanskrit, I read Nagarjuna's analysis of motion. It's called the analysis of going and coming. And was just thrilled. So I did a translation of it, and also did Tsong-kha-pa's commentary. Chandrakirti's commentary is quite lucid, and it's called Lucid Word. And this is 27 chapters, each chapter of which contains many ways of analyzing particular topics. In other words, the second chapter is on motion, but he analyzes who's going. Okay, who is going? A goer or a non-goer? Wow, I don't want to hear that. It was just the kind of thing that fascinated me. You can see why I ended up here. And where are you going when you go? Who's going? Where are you going when you go? Did you start? What were you doing when you started? Were you going when you started? Were you not going when you started? It's the kind of thing I used to do. He attacks it from many different ways, does his analysis from many different ways. When you stop, what are you doing when you're stopping? Are you going? Are you not going? Well, shit, of course. I'm not going, I'm not going. Well, then why'd you stop? If you're not going. I used to look down over the handlebars of the tricycle, big wheel, and try to figure out where it was going when the wheel was turning, what part of the ground it was on. Was it on part of the ground that hasn't gone over? Was it on part of the ground that it has gone over? Or was it on the part of the ground that's being gone over? The third looks kind of attractive, doesn't it? The text begins with that analysis of just the one I was doing. Gadam gadam gadam, avidam na avidam gadam. Tadhagatavarimukhtam Hamimanam Madhyamaka in Sanskrit. And he actually, he also has the pun within it too. He has a lot of fun in the midst of all this. Anyway, we'll stop at some point and do analysis. So one of the things, what I hope for the most with regard to this course, and will make my life at the University of Virginia meaningful, is if you figured out how to do this kind of analysis, actually figured it out how to do it. It's hard to do, because it looks so verbal at some point, and it looks so gamey that it seems to have nothing to do with the fabric of your life, and yet these people are claiming it has a tremendous amount to do with the fabric of your life. My own teacher at the University of Wisconsin, Richard Robinson, felt it was a shell game. It was just tricks. And you'll think that on your way. You probably wrote it already. But it's sort of my specialty is getting into these analyses. And I don't necessarily want to convince you. I would just be great if you got into it, figured out how it goes. Then you would be dealing with what I think the system is of these perceptions rather than, something else. It's said, there's a saying that the study of Madhyamaka, all Buddhist systems call themselves Madhyamaka, but one of them co-opted the name in particular. Madhyamaka means the middle. Everybody likes to be in the middle. Middle meaning, what are the two extremes? Not exaggerating what exists and not deprecating, right? Not exaggerating, not deprecating. So everybody thinks they're in the middle. Everybody, no matter who you are. The middle isn't half of this and half of that. The middle is the truth. But these people co-opted the name. All right? All right. They didn't study of Madhyamaka. One is constantly doing buts. Making distinctions. Such as so, but, and then that leads to another but, and that leads to another but, and that leads to another but. So, really, what I would seek to convey the most myself is how to do this sort of analysis. Is there anything else we need to cover? Special insight. Tsong-kha-pa wrote 2 main and 1 minor texts on the stages of the path. Occasionally I'll throw in a Tibetan word, but I will put it after, I will say stages of the path, Lamrim. And you can just, if you don't know Tibetan, right? When about, I don't know, 8 or so years ago, I think it may have been the Madhyamaka Seminar. I would put the Tibetan in before, but I would, Tsong-kha-pa wrote a text on Lamrim, the stages of the path. And there was one student in particular who would always go, because it would be like the most important word in the sentence, usually. And I figured, why can't you get over this and just realize that, pause a moment, and the English will come right after it. And then I thought, why don't I realize that I could get the English first and the Tibetan second? All right? Now, Elizabeth Napper did part of the section on special insight, realization of emptiness, in Tsong-kha-pa's large exposition, great exposition of the stages of the path. What I have given you here is the whole of the section written later in his life on from the medium exposition. They're quite different. Parts are quite different, parts. He didn't decide different things, but other issues have arisen. He tried to do it perfect.
And the middling one was written after the larger one?
Yeah. What Tsong-kha-pa was seeking to do was to write a text that laid out the stages of the path, not in terms of debates and arguments and so forth, theoretical discussions, but in terms of that was more closely related to practice. Thus, it is said that who can I remember? Buddha's word can be divided into sutra and tantra. And sutra is, sometimes the word sutra is also used for tantras, which makes it confusing, but in this, it's a strict division. Tantras, in this particular interpretation, are those that involve a meditation on yourself as a Buddha now. Physically, not just mentally, but physically. In order to hasten, it's like imaging yourself as having a Buddha body now, so you can achieve it faster. It's not deceiving yourself into thinking you are a Buddha now, but imaging yourself this way so you can achieve it faster. The study of sutra is done in two ways. One, theoretical. This is a traditional account. And I don't mean by that I'm non-traditional, right? Everybody's got a tradition. So this comes from within the Gelugpa tradition, I should say. You see, we often use the word non-traditional as if we are, outside of some tradition and have a privileged perspective. It's ridiculous. I do it myself, I just did it, right? Theoretical and practical. The theoretical training within the Gelugpa sect is done by way of studying tenets. And you see these two books, Meditation on Emptiness and Emptiness Yoga, come from tenets literature. And what's called the 5 great texts. Within the 5 great texts is Chandrakirti's entrance to Nagarjuna's treatise on the middle, or a supplement to Nagarjuna's treatise on the middle, which is the illumination text. And the practical means stages of the path, Lambing. This is really an interesting way of looking at it. Of course, there are overlaps and so forth. Okay. Now, in this case, we're within the word of Buddha, we're within sutra, we're within the theoretical, and we're within one of the 5 great texts.
Jeffrey,
Yes.
what are the other 4 great texts?
The other 4. Dhammakirtis from Anavartika. We can switch to other, shall we switch to other languages or not? Commentary on Tignaga's compendium on valid cognition. Then there's Maitreya's Abhisamya-alankara, which is the ornament for the clear realizations, which is on the path structure, this being the hidden meaning, or the hidden teaching of the Perfection Wisdom Sutras. The next is Chandrakirti's entrance or supplement to Nagarjuna's treatise on the middle, which is on the consequent school's presentation of emptiness, which is the explicit meaning of the Perfection Wisdom Sutras. Is that 4?
That's 3.
Then, not then, yeah, then, there is Vasubandhu's, these are 5 great Indian texts. There's Vasubandhu's Treasury of Manifest Knowledge, Abhidhamma, which is a great compendium on various aspects such as the structure of the world system, the various constituents within mind and body, the afflictive emotions. It's divided into sections on 4 Noble Truths. It has 8 chapters, and I cannot remember which chapters are on suffering, the sources of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the path. Those 8 are divided up. And the next is Gunaprabha's aphorisms on discipline. The Vinaya Sutras, what comes to mind? Do it though. It's very interesting that the end of the study is on discipline. You see, after you've been introduced to emptiness and so forth, to make sure you don't fall to an extreme of nihilism, I think that's what's behind it. They study a great deal about the appearance of phenomena and how one should behave. So, next time, let's look into Tsong-kha-pa's illumination and thought. This section that I have suggested reading.